Welcome to PhD&D on YouTube. What's up, everyone? In this video, we're going to talk today about my upcoming campaign and how players will decide or determine their ability scores for their characters. Now, the first thing to decide was, do we want to roll for ability scores, or do we want to pick, standard array, point by, or some other system of actually picking set numbers? Now, to me, my favorite method is hands down rolling for ability scores. It always has been. That in itself is a lot of fun to me, but it's not always about the Dungeon Master. So asking the players is what the step that I took and the step that you should take when deciding this, and which methods they prefer to use. Now, all of my players actually enjoy rolling for ability scores more than using a standard array or point by. So naturally, we're going to roll for ability scores. Now we're going to come up with a different method, however, for rolling these ability scores, and I'd like to present that to you today and to get some feedback from you. So the standard 4d6 drop the lowest just doesn't really work. That's going to generate scores that are too high for starting characters for this type of campaign. This type of campaign is going to be extremely difficult, extremely dangerous, but there's also going to be room for bumping up those ability scores or earning higher ability scores as you go along, instead of just those certain levels that let you bump them up. So there are things you can do during downtime or during actual adventures which will let you raise your abilities. What this creates for me as a DM is a need for these abilities to actually start out a lot lower so that there's room for advancement. Because like the rules state, I'm not going to let anything go above a 20, but I would not like level 3, level 4 characters to have stats of 18s, 19s, and 20s just because I gave them opportunities for advancement. So we're going to start low. It makes everything work. It makes for a grittier campaign, a much more difficult campaign, and a much more dangerous campaign. I toyed around with the idea of using 3d6 down the line. I'm not quite a proponent of that. I want to give my players at least some freedom to place those scores where they want. So we are going to actually start out with 3d6 allocated. So they can roll 3d6 6 different times, and then they can choose where those numbers go or which ability scores they go to. Now, 3d6 also presents the chance that numbers are going to be extremely low, and I have debated and I've decided that I found kind of a low point where I will let them re-roll for certain abilities. But there is a catch. Any number of 5 or lower, so that means you rolled 3d6 and got a 5 or less total, you are allowed to re-roll that. There will be a catch on that in a second. Stay with me. Scores of a 6. Now, you have to have at least 2 6s in order to re-roll 1 6. So no matter what, you're going to have a 6 if you were allowed to re-roll a 6. Hope that makes sense. Now, overall, whether it's a 6 you're re-rolling, a 5, a 4, a 3, any of those, for every 2 re-rolls that you do, you must also take 1d6 away from your highest ability score. Now, what does this create? Well, it's going to create a lot of pissed off players, I'm going to be honest, but they've all shown a great interest in this method. They kind of like that gamble at the start, but at the same time, it's up to them. Do they want to roll with some lower scores, or do they want to risk their high score and re-roll a couple? Alright, so I decided to show you what I'm talking about here, and I rolled up 3 different characters. Finally, on the third one, I got a good example of how this system actually works. So you can see this first character across the top here has an 11, 13, 11, 10, 13, 7. Rolled pretty well with that character across the boards. Now, he does not qualify for any re-rolls according to the system that I've set up. Character number 2 has a 5, 11, 8, 12, 9, 10. Now, 5s and under, as I said, can be re-rolled. So he could re-roll that 5 at no penalty because he's only re-rolling a single number. So 6, 5 makes 11, and 3 is 14. He just turned a 5 into a 14. That is an example of a significant change. but it can only happen on one number. If he had to re-roll another one, as we'll see in the next example, something's coming down. Now, the third character rolled a 5, a 13, a 6, an 8, a 6, and an 11. So, this is a good example to show how this system actually works. All numbers 5 and under can be re-rolled. 6s, however, you have to at least have 2 of them to re-roll 1. Because the rule is, if you're going to re-roll a 6, you're also going to have a 6. So this qualifies for that. One of these can be re-rolled. So, we have 2 numbers, one of the 6s, and the 5 that can be re-rolled here. Since I'm re-rolling 2, or choosing to re-roll for 2 different scores, I also have to take 1d6 off my highest score, which is a 13. So first I'm going to re-roll that 5. That 5 turns into a 9. Pretty good bump there. Now I'm re-rolling the 6. 10, 12. Which makes for a significantly improved character. However, at this point, I now have to take 1d6 off my highest score, which is a 13. Could be 1, could be 6. Turns out to be a 1. That 13 is now a 12. Hopefully that shows you what I'm actually talking about in this video. So like I said, it's going to be 3d6 allocated, re-roll 5s and under, re-roll a 6 if you have at least 2 of them, 1 remains, and for every 2 scores that you re-roll, you must subtract 1d6 from your highest ability score as a penalty for those 2 re-rolls. So I hope that makes sense. I've taken up enough of your time today. What methods do you use though? Leave a comment below on what methods you use for creating characters. Do you use point buy? Do you use standard array? Do you use a different type of rolling ability scores? I'd like to hear all these different methods and why you do them. But other than that, that has been the video. I've been PhD&D. I want to thank you for watching and have a great week of gaming. Thank you for watching the video. I forgot to mention that this is a working method, so I am looking for feedback from everyone on what they think of this method, methods that they use, and I actually have another method or 2 that I'm working on, so I will try to get another video out so you can check that out, pump in some feedback, and I can let you know the route we decided to go. Thanks again.